This was the first sign. Brooding clouds rolling in over one of the world's poorest slums, Cité Soleil. It was the beginning of 2 weeks that would leave hundreds dead and bring an already struggling country to its knees. Here in the markets of Port-au-Prince, food has become so expensive in the past year that rice is now a luxury item. The food crisis that is now ravaging Haiti has been a long time in the making. Years ago, Haiti was forced by foreign aid donors to drop its tariffs and allow in cheap food from America and elsewhere. Local farmers couldn't compete, and now Haiti imports almost everything that it eats. When world food prices started skyrocketing last year, Haitians had nothing to protect them from the worst impacts of a global food crisis. To cook a simple meal in Haiti, it now costs around $7 Australian. Now, if you consider that the average Haitian, who's lucky enough to have a job, earns only around $200 a month, that would be like the average Australian income earner paying more than $100 for every simple meal that they cook every day. Instead, people have been turning to one of the few things that they can afford to eat: mud. Mixed with salt and butter and baked in the sun, these mud cookies cost around 12 cents each. And the mud is often toxic and causes stomach illness and diarrhea.
Bon. Ça va t'acaber au manger, il est obligé de responsable tout le monde. Yo kon manger, même qui mange le plus bien. Si mon dans bas, yo prend petit calme, yo car peut-être faire, mais moi manger.
Bon, et pas problème manger encore parce que nous même malheureux nous laisse ça en close dans ventre nous parce que nous avons problème. Son close qui dans ventre nous et gen presque mourir. Pour situation de grand goût parce que grand monde qui pas capable tête yo c'est jeunes qui t'a même ba yo que nous pas capable.
So far, the Haitian government has been unable or unwilling to do anything about what Haitians call la vie chère, the expensive life.
Bon, ba konnen ndeli. Parce que le pas me dit un mot dans parole là. Oui, il va me dire un mot. Il va me parler.
According to the head of the UN Development Program in Haiti, Joel Bortoue, it's a miracle that the poor have survived this long.
I lived outside in Congo, in many extremely poor countries in the world. What I can tell you in my own words is that I don't understand, with the money that the average Haitian has, I don't understand how this average Haitian survives. I simply don't understand. I know the prices, food is expensive, over half of all the food is imported at a high price, okay? Over half of the Haitians are living with less than $1 per person per day. I don't understand how they survive.
When I first meet 61-year-old Paulette Camille, she's sharing a single foil-wrapped biscuit between herself and 2 of her grandchildren.
Mais tout événement qui passe, li pas qu'on dit que bon événement ça a pire. Ça a pire. Ça a dû en pile. Première fois dans ma vie, ça récipire. Pour si mamie dit à vendre $8, bien côté ou pas foutre acheter. Ou pas acheter, ou pas garder mon cap manger, ou pas acheter. Ou pas acheter même demi-go de poids pour mettre dans le feu. Si vous mettez un petit peu de poids dans le feu, son soeur ou un frère qui faut cadeau un peu.
Later, a neighbor does just that. Cooks up a meal of beans and shares it with Camille's family. Even if it is the first food a family has had in days, a meal will be shared with neighbors and friends. Sharing is Haiti's secret to survival. Camille's husband Astia lets the children eat first and takes just a few mouthfuls of beans at the end. He says that it's prayer, not food, that sustains him. While he prays, he holds a photo of his personal political savior, ex-President Jean Bertrand Aristide, who was ousted from power 4 years ago.
Bon, et moment représenté là, c'est dernier classe état arrivé là. C'est le dernier état arrivé. C'est le dernier état. Quoi qu'Aristide te pour un pays à l'engeance qu'il pas bon, mais l'elle te venu tout peuple tap vivre, tout peuple tap relé, tout peuple tap manger, c'est gars dans tout pays, dans toute nation. Et si on vient mettre dit peuple Aristide dehors là, ou après pays à vider tête en bas.
Aristide has always claimed that he was kidnapped by American and Canadian troops and forced into exile. And Camille says that she's tired of foreign governments meddling in Haiti's affairs.
Moi dis merci, merci Américain, merci, merci toute nation, merci Haïtien pareil moi yo qui mettent côté mien. Si on pas kidnapper président Aristide, nous pas taper comme ça. Pays tape comme l'autre changement.
Earlier this year, the current president, René Préval, argued that food prices were beyond his control, and he offered to march with his people to show support. But when the protesters came to the presidential palace in the thousands, Préval refused to appear, and the demonstration turned violent.
The Haitian people tried to open the gate to get inside of the palace.
Eventually, UN peacekeepers had to step in to restore order.
The political environment is not, I would say, the most mature in the world. Let's put it that way. So, the government can be easily upstaged, or sort of, tension can be created, at somebody's will fairly easily. So I do believe that the previous government really tried to deliver. It does not happen overnight, and we need also to support them and go in the same direction as them.
Those who dared to criticize the government were quickly and harshly punished. Denis spends most of his days looking around town for odd jobs to help feed his family. One day he was caught on the edge of the food riots.
Police qui a été me demandé $2,000 pour la game parce que me voyais quoi besoin faire me dit moi pas de gain même mon goût moi pas de gain serré la caille moi et me des grand goût la fin t'a touyer je t'ai arrêté mais puis au premier al mettre me pénitentiaire pour me mourir mais même connais que comme moi dans celle là bon Dieu te mettre me dehors moi même.
He wasn't alone. Denis' cell had been designed to hold 60 men, but it was packed with 250. For 3 months, he had to sleep standing up.
En dans prison, il y a 7000 garçons qui passent misère, qui ne peuvent pas manger, qui ne peuvent pas même jouer de l'eau pour bien aller voir manger. Moi, je suis dans ces garçons qui me mettent dehors.
Denis wasn't the only person I met who claimed to be falsely arrested. Patrick Bryce spends every day banging out a bare living doing metal work in the city's Soleil slum. He and his brother have to cut, shape, and sell every piece of metal they can scrounge to provide for a family of 16. Bryce says that he was arrested last year after he spoke to a journalist about his fears for the coming food crisis.
Pendant que nous avons dans partie les briques, les briques 5, fait 17 mois de souffrance, de calamité, côté que mon a mal vivre, côté que mon la vie mon plus mal quand qui ont vieux chien là dans la rue.
Bryce is now home again, but food has gotten even more expensive since he was sent to jail. He says that it's now an impossible situation.
Nous allons venir mon organiser une fédération contre la vie chère là, gouvernement casse, il faut casser nous. Nous obligés là, n'a prier, n'a mourir sous conscience.
Je préfère mourir mort balle, pas mourir mort la faim parce que dans la faim jeune garçon mourir dans le pays d'Haïti. Bon, ça fait un pile effet sur nous-mêmes qui peuple là parce que nous-mêmes nous pas travail, nous pas gain nous n'a lever, nous pas gain les la lever. Chaque jour était n'a regarder ciel là. N'attend la manne tomber mais la manne pas jamais tomber. Nous pas lever l'une, pas lever les jets.
But instead of manna, the heavens sent the worst storms Haiti has seen in a generation. The first hurricane, Hannah, hit at 10 p.m. on a Monday night. By morning, the worst of the damage was already done. I'm airlifted on a United Nations helicopter into the flood zones. The city of Gonaives has turned into an island within an island, cut off from Haiti and from the world. The only way into the city is to wade, sometimes waist deep through the flooding. The people of Gonaives are either fleeing to higher ground or rescuing their possessions from the water. I find Pierre Davies surveying the damage to his home.
Dans tout cyclone que moi vu, moi cyclone ça c'est le plus problème surtout Gonaïves. Parce que nous circonstances ça a présenté ce bon bail qui qu'on jamais présenté en Haïti du tout. Cyclone qu'on passe mais c'est pas comme ça.
As ambulances pull through the filthy water, I make my way to the highest, driest place in the city, a church balcony. I climb the stairs, and I find 100 people still in shock.
C'est pendant que je suis dans la là et puis moi il y a de l'eau, je sorti en dedans de la bam là raco. Moi comme je sorti de avec je rentrer dans la là rentrer encore et puis c'est là je retourner c'est là moi pour aller.
Avalom Latortue has spent the last few days lost in grief, talking to no one. He finally tells me that his mother and one of his children were washed away right before his eyes.
Oui, ça veut dire que je n'ai pas assez de force pour me sauver tout. Et comme je suis rentré dans l'âge, je ne suis pas capable de sauver. Je suis qu'un bémel pour moi, je suis traverser avec elle, pressé pour me sauver Timounio, lui-même l'irrité. Et puis il était bon l'autre Simon qui était qu'un bémel, qui est oublié, il s'est trouvé aller ensemble, aller ensemble avec lui. Je ne suis pas arrivé à sauver lui. Je suis arrivé à sauver Damna avec l'autre trois Timounio.
What little food they had been left in Gonaives has been ruined by the floodwater. and all the clean water has been polluted. Marie Magdala and 20 of her family and neighbors have been stranded here on their roof since the storm hit. They're surviving by pulling dirty sacks of American rice out of the water.
Already we had the food crisis, the fuel crisis. We were for 6 months in a political crisis, and now we have a series of 4 hurricanes or tropical storms. I think it has put all this combination of factors Haiti on its knees.
The United Nations responds as quickly as it can, providing basic medical treatment even in the dirty streets.
Only 5 minutes, 5 minutes. A minute. Okay, lost. Finish. Okay. 5 minutes, 5 minutes, it's close.
But by now, hunger has mixed with panic.
This is a food drop being run by the United Nations. Food and water are being distributed to the 3,000 people who were inside the compound when the trucks rolled in. Anyone who was still outside got barred at the gate and have formed an angry mob behind me.
Oui, ça a quelques minutes gros qui a fait des hommes qui voulaient prendre tout pour pas d'avoir bail. Bien ça. Faut toujours gagner police pour manger à bail.
There are 70,000 people in Gonaives, but the flood makes it impossible for the UN to reach even half of them. Those lucky enough to make it to food drops like this one receive only a handful of biscuits and a few bottles of clean water. Hardly enough to feed an entire family.
Comme ça passé, il y a nous, Dieu a retourné venir encore, nous ne pouvons pas passer en bas. Mais les premières fois, nous avons un peu de problème, il y a des gens qui mourent, qui sont écrasés, moi-même quand je suis allé, je suis suspecté.
In the center of town, I find this jail, with its prisoners crammed into flooded and filthy cells. There are 114 people locked behind this single door. Yet the prisoners say that they're lucky not to have drowned when the hurricane hit.
Bon zon bagay parce que c'est m'gen plusieurs policiers qui te sauvé dans l'eau qui fait que m'bat mourir l'eau a arrivé non mezi pour te tuer nous. Policiers ont sauvé nous, ils mettaient nous en l'air. Dans bureau pa yo a faire que l'eau pas prendre nous.
The women held here beg to be released, even if just for a day or two, to help relatives who are struggling to survive.
Moi, nous demandons que nous avons liberté pour aider les petites. Moi, c'est mon petit.
Parce que nous finissons réfléchir.
Bon, mais ça me gagne droits humains pour aider dans Camille là. C'est mon petit 2 ans. C'est mes parents qui ont aidé. Mon petit soeur qui a 2 ans sans ma velle. D'avoir fait rien pour lui. Parce que Maria, il n'est pas jeune. Moi, je suis aidé petite, moi, je suis grand, qui t'a aidé, lui mourir, non, madame, il mourir. C'est non, on doit aider, dans casa.
On voit,
n'a souffri en pile.
On voit si nager pour un petit moi.
N'a souffri en pile en
Meanwhile, the Haitian government is nowhere to be found in the flood zones. Ministers turn off their phones and refuse to talk to me or anyone else from the international media.
Bon, ça c'est nous pas un gouvernement, c'est un gouvernement qui doit tendre des problèmes nous pour chercher moyen donc seul pas avouer pour aide pour nous pas aide même côté nous là.
But there is this chronic weakness again of the state, and even if they were present, maybe they don't even have a bicycle or a piece of paper to write on, and I'm hardly exaggerating.
It's a situation that Haitians are used to. What's most striking here is not the damage, it's the calm dignity with which people respond to the tragedy. On the way back through town, I meet Jacques Pepsi. He's sitting in a tree so calmly that he might be in a hammock.
Je pense à ça, avec ça arrive déjà, ça ne va pas passer encore. Je pense à ça. Et je regarde les gens qui passent tout. Je suis observer, je attends ça qui vient.
Finally, I'm airlifted out of Gonaives. We fly over what is left of Haiti's rice fields. There wasn't much agriculture left here before the hurricanes, but now there'll be even less. It's obvious that Haiti cannot rebuild on its own.
Well, the money can come from the international community, and so be it. So be it. I have no problem saying we're here for the next 20 years, we're going to help the government deliver basic services free of charge, at least to the most vulnerable, and the international community is going to help. I have no problem doing that. It's a question of life and death, and it's a question of equity, of fairness.
Bon, j'aime pays, c'est seulement bon Dieu qui a sauvé le pays, ça, parce que le pays ça est dans qui crasé lié, parce que le pays a arrêté là, pas fini. Et comme ce pays a pas aucun dirigeant qui a dirigé vraiment, le pays c'est fini là, fini, aller pour aller. Et j'ai l'impression et aller nous tout pour aller, mais le pays a prêté là.